The wind howled outside the glass-paneled walls of my father's lakeside villa in Vermont. Yet it paled in comparison to the tempest gathering within that dining room. "Congratulations, Ryan," my father remarked, pushing a thick envelope toward my younger brother across the table. I found myself seated in quiet contemplation at the oak table, 34 years of life behind me. Yet in that moment, I felt as if I were merely 10 again. My palms felt icy, pressed against my slacks as I fought to maintain my composure. Ryan averted his eyes from mine, his lips pressed together, gaze cast downward. My stepmother toyed with her necklace, her gaze fixed on the ground. Then my father faced me. "And you, Ava," he scoffed. "You have forever been a visionary, fragile, and imbued with a kindness that makes it difficult to navigate the harsh realities of existence." My stomach plummeted. In the room, 4 others were present. With him, Ryan, my stepmother, and the attorney present, an overwhelming sense of solitude enveloped me. He slid a stack of papers across the table to the man in the suit. "Let us proceed to finalize the signature." "Father," I uttered with a strained voice, "I implore you, do not." He let out a weary sigh, his eyes drifting upward in exasperation. "Save your breath, Ava. You made the decision to depart. You had the desire to. You had the desire to seek out your purpose, do you recall?" He lifted his fingers in a gesture of sarcastic air quotes. "You turned your back on this family to pursue a job in a clinic abroad? And for what purpose? Without funds or recognition, only time slips away, unfulfilled. You never inquired about the reasons behind my departure," I murmured. "Your indifference was palpable. And I still don't," he snapped. "Due to Ryan's presence." "Ryan demonstrated unwavering loyalty. He revealed to you the very thing you longed to behold," I murmured softly. "Yet he deceived you." My father let out a harsh, mirthless laugh. "That's the voice of envy speaking." The attorney, a man with silver hair known as Mr. Whitman, shifted uncomfortably. His fingers clenched the folder with increasing intensity. "Indeed," he remarked, clearing his throat, "prior to any signatures being affixed, you must listen to this. You must listen to this." My father wore a frown. What could it be? Mr. Whitman met his gaze with unwavering intensity. "A sealed amendment to the will exists, added 6 years prior at the behest of your late mother." My heart leaped. My grandmother, the sole individual who ever genuinely perceived my essence, the sole individual who would declare that my silence held more power than the loudest outbursts of others. "Which amendment are you referring to?" My father erupted, frustration bubbling to the surface. Mr. Whitman, with a composed demeanor, gently opened the leather folder and extracted a yellow document. "This was submitted at the time of your mother's last meeting with the notary." Her guidance was unmistakable. "It was to stay sealed unless you ever sought to disinherit Ava. Greetings, greetings." My father's visage quivered slightly. "That is utterly absurd. She possessed no such authority. She possessed no such authority." "Indeed, she did," Mr. Whitman responded, his tone now resolute. "She held on to 51% ownership in Harborcrest Holdings until the very end of her days. You never dared to question it. In the eyes of the law, she possessed every right." Ryan adjusted his position in the chair. My stepmother stood still, her hand lingering on the diamond pendant that she always donned in moments when she sought to summon her strength. Mr. Whitman cast his gaze in my direction. "Ms. Ava, would you prefer to read it, or shall I take the lead?" I remained still. My gaze remained fixed on the envelope in Ryan's grasp, the very vessel containing all that my father thought he wielded dominion over. With a deliberate clearing of his throat, he carefully unfolded the page before him. "Should my granddaughter Ava Whitmore be considered unworthy by her father, I hereby bestow upon her complete authority over my portion of Harborcrest Holdings, to take effect without delay. Upon activation of this clause, all voting rights shall be conferred to her name. This amendment shall take precedence over any prior agreements concerning decision-making or ownership within the company or family estate." Stillness. The gentle patter of rain against the windows filled the air, now softened, as if the storm itself had paused in anticipation. "What on earth does that signify?" my father growled. "It signifies," Mr. Whitman remarked, glancing in my direction, that your daughter has now become the majority shareholder. No agreement you enter into today can supersede that." My father sprang to his feet. The chair let out a piercing screech as it slid backward. "This is utterly ridiculous. She lacks a fundamental grasp of the business." "Perhaps not in the way you envision," I replied, standing tall, my voice unwavering. "Yet I possess the ability to guide, to safeguard, and to create without dismantling others." I advanced a step. "You claimed I was worthless, yet I never sought your approval." I directed my gaze towards Mr. Whitman. "Let us progress onward. We have a business to manage." Ryan's gaze lingered on the table. My stepmother parted her lips as if to utter a word, yet silence prevailed. My father never returned to his seat. "If you sensed that pivotal moment reclaiming the power to its rightful place, be sure to subscribe to the channel, for what unfolds next will render even her father utterly speechless." Yet, he remained silent. He remained there, motionless and tense, as the reality he believed he governed began to unravel around him. The atmosphere hung heavy with a silence that resonated more powerfully than any dispute could ever manage. My father stood tall, his lips pressed into a firm line, his jaw clenched with such intensity that the tension throbbed visibly in his temple. His knuckles turned pale as they gripped the edge of the chair he had forcefully pushed away. For the very first time, I beheld a glimpse of something entirely new in his eyes: terror. Not the type that strikes with fury, but the one that embeds itself deeply. A profound, haunting dread of relinquishing something he never imagined he would need to defend. "Please, take a seat," I said softly. My intention was not to humiliate him. I had no desire for retribution. All I ever desired was that which had been denied to me for years: dignity. Yet, he remained still. At last, Ryan found his voice. "She sought to distance herself from the enterprise entirely. She dashed away to assist individuals or engage in some meaningful endeavor. I constructed shelters for women seeking refuge from abuse. I provided financial support for transitional housing for veterans," I stated calmly. "I did not flee. I sprinted toward a purpose that resonated deeply." He let out a derisive laugh. "That's pleasant and all, yet you lack the understanding to manage Harborcross." With a steady gaze, I declared, "I know enough to understand that you've been siphoning funds through a shell corporation registered in your college roommate's name." Ryan's complexion drained of color. My stepmother inhaled sharply. "Ava, please, this is about family." "Was it family?" I inquired, my voice trembling. "When you remained silent as he labeled me a failure, when he bestowed everything upon Ryan without recognizing the sacrifices I made for all of you?" "You were never meant for this world," she murmured softly. I shook my head in agreement. "Your intentions were unmistakably conveyed." Yet Grandma held a different perspective. Mr. Whitman took a moment to clear his throat. "Miss Ava, your grandmother bequeathed not only shares to you but also something else, intended to be revealed only at this very moment." He unlatched his briefcase and drew forth a small time-worn box. Within lay her cherished gold-plated compass, a relic of the past. Underneath, a neatly folded letter bearing my name in her elegant handwriting. My fingers quivered as I unsealed it. "My beloved Ava, should you find yourself perusing these words, it signifies that your father has indeed acted upon my deepest apprehensions. Do not despise him. He is shaped by a society that has taught him that power speaks the loudest. You were never frail. You embodied the silent resilience that bound us as one. This compass belongs to you now, for I have faith that you will navigate whatever journey lies ahead." I fought against the tears that threatened to spill, blinking them away as I turned to face Mr. Whitman. "You believe this grants you power," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "Do you truly believe she offered this to you out of affection? Her actions were driven by a desire to provoke me." I gazed at him, truly gazed for the first time, not as a daughter yearning for validation, but as a woman who recognized the reality before her. "No," I replied. "She did it because she had faith in me, and she understood that I would wield this power to create, not destroy." I stepped out with my chin held high, the weight of rejection shedding from my shoulders like old rust. Yet what lay beyond was not tranquility, but conflict. Power attracts adversaries, and Ryan's journey was far from over. I had scarcely stepped into the corridor when the sound of footsteps reached my ears. "Ava," he beckoned. I pivoted. His voice exuded calmness, yet his eyes, performing calculations. "You don't have to do this," he said. "What should be done?" He shrugged, urging me to push him out. "Is that your next step then?" I remained still, my voice barely above a whisper as I spoke. I rose to my feet. He let out a soft chuckle. "Do you really believe that putting your name on a few documents grants you true power? You lack the fortitude to take charge." My heart raced, yet I remained steadfast. "I have no intention of proving anything to you, Ryan. I stand ready to guide with unwavering integrity, a principle this family seems to have overlooked." He ventured too near. "I'll give you 2 months," he scoffed, "before you come crawling back. The company's not a charity," Ryan stated, with a chilling detachment. "The scene unfolds like a battlefield." "No," I replied, raising my chin defiantly. "It serves as a foundation, and I shall wield it to create, not to destroy." "You truly are naive," he muttered, shaking his head before turning away. Yet, there was an undeniable weight to his departure. The tension in his clenched fists, the rigidity of his shoulders lingering in my mind. This was not an act of surrender. The dawn of something new had only just emerged. The following days drifted in like ominous storm clouds gathering on the horizon. News spread swiftly. Ava Whitmore had returned, and this time her presence was not merely a fleeting visit. They murmured my name as if it were the stuff of legends. A glimmer of hope lingered among some. Others, filled with trepidation. I did not terminate anyone's employment. I refrained from conducting extravagant meetings. I paid attention. What I discovered was far more troubling than I had anticipated. Departments found themselves pitted against one another. Advancements were granted in accordance with loyalty rather than merit. The issue of employee burnout went unacknowledged. This was not merely a business venture. Once, there existed a kingdom. Ryan had been a pupil of the king. On a quiet afternoon, I stepped into the break room. Dialogue came to an abrupt halt. "Please," I said, lifting my hand. "Take a moment for yourself. Take a seat and enjoy your meal." A janitor named Rosa rose to her feet with deliberate slowness. Seated we remained, for the mere presence of Mr. Ryan commanded our respect and attention. I blinked. Today marks a turning point. Today marks a turning point. Her expression gentled as she spoke. That evening, I lingered, poring over the reports. I uncovered 3 misallocated budgets, an underhanded arrangement with a dubious supplier, and a roster of employees who had been dismissed after voicing their concerns. This was not a case of mismanagement. It was decay. If I failed to act swiftly, the blame would inevitably fall upon me when everything unraveled. The following morning, Ryan burst into my office, clutching a folder tightly. "Are you aspiring for the CEO position?" he snapped. "Let us witness your endurance in the face of this challenge." He flung the folder onto my desk. Within there lie screenshots, emails, and photographs. "These are not real," I remarked, sifting through the pages. "Are you able to provide evidence for that?" He wore a sly grin. "Do you truly wish to bring about my downfall?" "I desire what is rightfully mine," he hissed. "Your victory was never destined to be." I rose gradually. "Victory is not my desire, Ryan. Ryan, I wish to mend what you have shattered." "Power," he scoffed. "One perceives frailty." He pivoted on his heel and strode away, and I came to understand. This was not rivalry. This was a battle of epic proportions. Yet, I possessed something that Ryan lacked. The undeniable reality. In the span of just 48 hours, a torrent of headlines surged forth. Allegations of charity fraud surface against the new CEO. A familial conflict brews at Harborcrest Holdings. Ava Whitmore, a figure of legacy or a potential liability? Its authenticity was irrelevant. The masses did not pause for the arrival of truth. My inbox was inundated with a flurry of PR alerts. My phone incessantly buzzed and chimed. Investors were in a state of turmoil. I had scarcely started and my credibility was already in tatters. I reminded myself to maintain my composure. Yet, in the stillness of a late night, confined within the walls of my office, I succumbed. Quietly restrained, devoid of chaos, only the soft sound of silent tears. Curled up on the couch, I wasn't shedding tears due to their disbelief. Tears streamed down my face as I pondered the unsettling possibility that perhaps, just perhaps, my father had been right all along. Perhaps I was never meant for this path. A gentle rap followed. I quickly brushed away the tears from my eyes. Regardless, the door swung open. Rosa lingered, cradling a paper cup in her hands. "I believe this might be of some assistance to you. You didn't have to," I whispered. "You seemed to be in need of it," she remarked as she entered. In this room, no one ever came to my aid when tears fell from my eyes. Perhaps it is time for someone to shatter the cycle. Once more, a fissure formed within me. Yet in a gentler manner, I expressed my gratitude, saying thank you. She settled into her seat opposite me. "Miss Ava," she said, "do you wish to uncover the truth about your family?" I glanced upward, filled with uncertainty. She inclined her head in acknowledgement. "I have dedicated 28 years to this place. I have witnessed more than the average person, and I have witnessed the secrets they conceal." "You always looked me in the eye," Rosa said gently. Words eluded me as my throat constricted. "In this moment you might sense a profound solitude," she went on. "Yet you possess something that will forever elude them. Devotion cultivated by compassion." I blinked, striving to regain control of my breath. "What compels you to offer your assistance?" In a moment of solitude, a gentle smile graced her lips, a reminder of the kindness bestowed upon me when I needed it most. "And for the reason that this company requires no additional monarch. A healer is required." The following morning, I entered the boardroom with a sense of quiet determination. I allowed them to voice their thoughts before me. Allegations swirl, uncertainty looms, calls for departure echo. A shareholder went so far as to threaten legal action. Once they had finished, I rose to my feet. Clearly, I stated that if anyone here can demonstrate the authenticity of those documents, it would be appreciated. Today, I will take my leave. Stillness. With a decisive motion, I let the original reports fall onto the table. Proof of Ryan's financial wrongdoing, silence payment, supplementary agreements. With a flick of the switch, I activated the projector. Visuals were presented. Ryan slipped into the locked office, deftly plugged in a USB, and began the meticulous transfer of files. The timestamp aligned perfectly with the creation of the forged documents. Silence enveloped the room. "Truth holds significance," I declared. "Yet, my purpose here is not to bring ruin upon my brother. I arrived to mend what he had shattered." I directed my gaze towards the company attorney. "This role was bestowed upon me by my grandmother, not due to any semblance of perfection, but rather because I maintain a steadfast belief in humanity, even in those who have caused me pain. I made it clear that I would not be pursuing any charges. However, Ryan finds himself suspended, and a comprehensive investigation is set to unfold." Expressions of disbelief filled the room. Then Mr. Halpern, a former board member, rose to his feet. "I had my doubts about you," he confessed. "I assumed you were merely another dreamer. Yet today you brought back to mind the very reason we established this company. The focus lay on individuals rather than authority." In an instant, the atmosphere in the room transformed. Ryan has not returned. Yet, just 2 days later, a letter arrived, penned in his distinctive handwriting. "Ava, I harbor no illusions of forgiveness. I sought more than mere control. I yearned for recognition. I have always believed that you received the affection that eluded me. Perhaps you simply acquired it through a different path. Ryan." I carefully folded the letter and set it beside my grandmother's compass. Not every conclusion requires a blade. Some come in silence. Some beginnings emerge from a place of grace. The atmosphere in the office had shifted, not more subdued, more alert. A month had passed since the boardroom shifted its dynamics. The media withdrew the erroneous assertions. While some attributed it to mere fortune, those who truly understood recognized the reality beneath the surface. Not due to the volume of my voice, but rather because I stood firm with unwavering integrity. Yet, one individual remained silent, not having made any attempt to connect. My father. There are no messages without legal counsel. Silence reigns. I presumed he would disappear to nurse his wounds and cast blame upon the world. It was a Sunday morning when I stepped into my office, and there he stood, positioned opposite my desk, fingers intertwined, eyes lackluster. I had to witness it, he declared. What is it that you wish to observe? That you managed to keep it from going up in flames. I remained silent. He appeared more aged, weary. For once, not as if he were a man in control, but as if one had lost something of great significance. You were right, he murmured gently. Let me share a bit about myself. Concerning Ryan, regarding how this location ceased to revolve around individuals. I observed him closely, grappling with the uncertainty of whether I could truly accept it. Why at this moment? I inquired. From the depths of his coat he retrieved an object, an image captured in time, Grandma and I, at the age of 12, adorned in vibrant hues. She was filled with laughter. She claimed you would transform this family, he murmured. I simply couldn't bring myself to accept it. If I did, I spoke softly, it was due to her unwavering belief in me. He inclined his head in agreement. I have something to express, a thought that has lingered in the shadows, waiting for its moment to emerge. He locked his gaze with mine. I apologize, Ava, for all that has transpired. A part of me yearned to declare that the hour had grown too late. Yet, the journey of healing does not commence with accusations. The moment arrives when an individual decisively shatters the relentless cycle. I gave a slight nod. Before time slipped away, my father felt compelled to express it. Then don't, I responded softly. Repair what is within your reach. The opportunity still lingers. He remained silent. She cast one final silent glance my way before quietly slipping out the door. 2 weeks later, Rosa entered my office, a folder in hand. What is this? I inquired. A list of every employee your father dismissed for voicing their concerns, she said gently. I thought you might like to take a look at it. I opened the file, perused each name, and subsequently dispatched the letters. Everyone beckons a return, without a single question posed. Not out of a desire for redemption, but rather because true legacy transcends mere bloodlines. It hinges on the emotions you evoke in others as you exit the space. Time slipped away. Month by month, the company exuded a sense of warmth rather than mere flashiness. Ryan never came back. Our paths crossed once over a cup of coffee. Neither regrets nor revisiting what has been. Two siblings navigating the complexities of understanding one another. Perhaps that sufficed. My father maintained a certain distance, yet one day, a receipt arrived in my hands. A generous 7-figure donation, bestowed in my name, to the women's shelter that once served as my workplace. Neither a note nor a signature was present. It was merely his subtle manner of conveying that he was making an effort. And that sufficed. In foregoing revenge, I discovered something far more powerful. Honor, tranquility, a future that remained untouchable by anyone. As I step into that boardroom, the air is devoid of whispers. I hear the footsteps of those who have faith in me. It all began on a day when a single voice declared that I was nothing. I demonstrated my point, all the while remaining true to myself. If my narrative stirred something within you, please leave a comment below. Share with me which aspect resonated the most deeply. Share with me your course of action. Every word captured my attention, for connection has always been the essence of this journey. And if you find yourself grappling with your own experience of being overlooked, remember this. There's no need to raise your voice to make an impact. Simply remain firm in your conviction. Join us on this journey if you resonate with the idea of healing through resilience and finding strength in compassion. For it is often the most silent among us who bear the most resounding legacies. Indeed, an abundance of that is essential in our world today.